Hello there, this is me again, and I I found a book which is supposed to be the book on calm, essential calm by Don Cox, Addison Wesley, 1977, which is an old book, obviously, but apparently very well received. Addison Wesley, 1997, not 77, 1997. And still highly relevant and valid. One of the things I just read here in the book is I guess, an answer, somewhat of an answer to that long-standing 20-year-old question of mine: why can't you rely on the return value of release? And he doesn't give any precise reason, but you can sort of guess. For a variety of reasons related to multi-threading, remote access, even more bad, multi-processor architectures, the value is not guaranteed to be an accurate representation of the total number of outstanding interface pointers, and the client should ignore it except for diagnostic purposes and debugging, whatever, where you're in full control. And he goes on to claim that the only result that has any meaning when release is when release returns zero. A zero result reliably indicates that the object is no longer valid in any possible way. Now, I think that may follow, although it's difficult to imagine all possible multi-threading scenarios. Where an increment is blocked or something, or delayed. But, well, if it does become zero, certainly somebody else might be in for some trouble. But you can certainly say that it's time that the object is. If it's either it's going to be deleted by you or by someone or by the system. When it's zero, the object is going to get deleted. The underlying object, whatever it might be. And note also as well that the converse is not true. Right? A zero value indicates the object is no longer valid, but an object no longer being valid does not imply that a call to release is going to return you the number zero, right? The object has no meaning anymore. Whatever is returned is arbitrary, random. So he suggests to implement release in this way for your interfaces. Just make a function that calls release and then immediately sets the value of the pointer to zero. So, but when you have a reference, when you're holding a reference to something, and you remove that reference, then you have no business touching the object anyway. After that point. So that's like your personal delete, and you might as well set, like you would do if you deleted a regular pointer, set it to zero, right? And that way you won't run into that. You won't run into that problem. I don't know what's this additional. Yeah, there are other weirdo things that can happen, like in the case of an exception, like a C++ exception, or a structured exception, where sometimes a release call may be bypassed, but due to a language uh, mishap. It's possible, apparently, to make sure that the appropriate number of releases get called after, when there's an exception thrown. But one should certainly be very wary about trusting the value of those numbers. I agree. I would agree with that. I mean, I think of it this way. Suppose there are 1,000 threads out there, each using the their own instance of that object, and you call release and it returns the number 6. How do you know by the next line in your code that the reference count on that object is 6? By the time the 6 is assigned, it might be 3 or 12, right? Or 100. So it's a really no meaning, except 0 does tell you that the object is definitely not valid. It cannot be valid because the way that because the call to release that produces that 0 is the call that will delete the object, right? Whether it was valid or not. If it wasn't valid, then it wasn't valid. If it was valid, then it's not valid. In both cases, it's invalid. So that's the answer to that question. I think I'm just going to pause this. I've been playing around with some stuff. And I've been playing around with, first I was playing around with those rich edit controls, and I wrote a rich edit control class, but I don't really know how to use it yet. And then I thought of, well, you can try this yourself if you want. There are lots of little COM objects out there in that are easily accessible for your programs that you can try playing with. One of them I know is this iShell folder. Now there are a whole bunch of these sh something functions that return you COM objects. Okay, sh. Okay, G. Get. Okay, now this desktop folder, which is what I was playing with just now, which is an iShell folder. Then there are ID lists. Okay, now all these things are COM objects that you can play with and practice just using COM. sh get folder path. And that's not a COM. That's the COM part is hidden in this one. About this. Here you go. Okay. Now that's a COM object. Shell API sh get file info. Now, I never use these because COM is such a pain. But if you want to get used to or get some practice using COM, try using some of these functions and see if you can get them to work. It took me a while to get this to work. What I wanted to do was list the objects on my desktop. Okay. Now here's the program. First, co-initialize. There's a thing called get desktop folder, which you pass a pointer to an iShell folder interface, which succeeds or not. Now there are various flags you can pass in. And then now here's another interface object called an enum ID list. Okay, which you can create by calling this function. Then if that succeeds, that gives you an enum ID list pointer. And you check in the help. What's an enum ID list interface, and they tell you a little bit about it, but they never tell you quite enough to make it obvious. You got to work at it a little bit, and that helps you to learn it. You can skip, you can clone. I wanted to see if I could see my hidden thing, and here I get the display name of the objects on my desktop, and well, here I've asked for hidden things that are folders and non-folders, and this is what the program outputs. Oh, it's going to disappear. I'll do it twice. Okay. Now let's have a look at my desktop. Computer. I don't see any computer here. Bin, that's not. Control panel, 2 of them. Where? Don't see it. Alan. Where's Alan? Network. Now, this is enumerating something else, right? There's no network on my desktop. What it's referring to is that thing that I don't know how you get to it with Explorer. There's a thing called desktop. Now, what is that doing there? There's a thing that I probably got rid of. It says desktop here, and that lists network, computer, network, and all the stuff on your desktop. And I don't know all these extra control panels. Now, how did that work? It worked by spending a long time reading through the help. I've used the function before, but I wanted to see if I could do it without just copying what I had. Now, usually enum type things are things that you walk through in a cycle, right? But it doesn't work that way with this. This here, some enumeration occurs, and the result has been stored in this identifier list. Okay. Now it turns out that I also need an iMalloc interface because because the way to walk through the list, you can go more than one item at a time, I guess. But here I'm going next, one item at a time. These things, P item list, yeah, these P item lists need to be freed. And so you need the free function of malloc to free it. Now there's desktop folder. You can get display name. You can do a bunch of other things. I don't know what else. There are a bunch of flags. In folder for editing, for address bar. I don't know. As folders, maybe? What's that got to do with display name? I don't know. Of item list. Oh, see, because it could be a great big list, whereas I'm only listing one thing. So perhaps if I had 30 here, this flag might be useful. Type of display to return. Right. Now those open file open dialogues, directory open dialogues, and whatnot, all use these kinds of functions. You know, I shell folder and so on. Shell get malloc, shell get menu. Okay, now I don't know what this does, but this is you don't have. I don't know any way to find out the class ID for the shell, but these are wrappers that return you interfaces from the shell object. You can see how many interfaces one object can have. Get emergency call list. Imagine trusting com for that. T-car mobile devices. Attributes from data object. Oh no, yeah. Now there's this data object stuff. What does this give you? Now that's obviously another interface, an iData object. This is stuff that anyone can do, you know, without extensive knowledge of you know, Com Plus or GDI Sharp and whatnot. These are utility interfaces provided by the shell that pretty much anyone should be able to use. Idle timer reset, who knows what that does, but it's probably smartphone, that's mobile. Get value. Here's a thing that gets values from the registry. So you can bypass, you don't have to use the registry functions directly. You can go through the shell. Why is that useful? I don't know. Unread mail. Oh God. Get submenu. Macro. I don't know what that's about. But there's something about these, special folder location. Oh, no, that just gives you a, no, that's common here, see? You can use get display name of. And just playing with these functions will make you reduce your anxiety towards calm considerably, because you're used to this H results and adding references and releasing and so on. So before the next video, I haven't decided exactly what to do. I would suggest that you play around with these, and maybe you can look deeper into some of these calls and look at it at the assembly level and see if you can find out what other sorts of calls are supported that might not be in the documentation. Format drive, I wouldn't advise using that one. Find files. the function that's never worked. I wonder what this does. Anyway, you can see there's lots of stuff to play with. Alright, so this is just an aside. Okay, I'll see you on my next video.